we will not be having a serger or an apparel class in the library. I got permission to go ahead and do some projects that you can do at home that I can't teach in the library. So the first one is actually going to be a three-piece set. It's going to have a shirt, a skirt, and bloomers. And that's going to go ahead and make a three-piece set. This will involve serging, but you can do everything the same way, just on a sewing machine as well. For this project, I used 3 different types of cotton fabric. I also used elastic for necklines, armholes, leg holes, waistbands. I'll get into that more in the video. So enjoy, and I hope you have fun. So we are actually making a 3-piece outfit. So we're going to be making a shirt, a skirt, and bloomers. The reason why this is a 3-piece set is just because. Again, I think children should always wear something underneath skirts because how many times have I seen children cartwheeling? So I just like that extra precaution just as me. So the outside fabric is going to be totally different than the bloomers. So these are the bloomers. I'm just going to say this because I know friends that see this are going to call me out on it. Yes, I know it's pink. I have a lot of pink in my stash because I don't like pink. I was color-coded pink. However, I saw this range of fabric and went, yes. Like, this I'm okay with. So this is going to be my bloomers, which you're not going to see particularly much. Or at least you shouldn't. And then, this is going to be the skirt. So this is going to be a ruffle hem on the bottom of the skirt. Then we have the actual shirt. So this shirt is done without a center back seam because it is a drawstring top. So there's the back. This is the front. Then, instead of making them match, here are my sleeves. So the skirt and then the shirt are going to be very, very similar, but they're not going to be touching. So it's not going to be the same fabric touching all the time. So it's just going to make a really nice outfit, in my opinion, and kind of make it to a set. Kind of like how they have this little girl set up. So I'm really excited for this. It should be kind of quick and easy. I am going to give forewarning about one thing I'm likely to complain about. So in other patterns, when they are doing a drawstring casing on the top for elastic, they make the entire neckline into one solid circle that is pretty flat. As you can tell looking at the sleeves, this is not going to be the case in this particular situation. So we're going to experiment with this because this is a slightly different way of doing it that I have not done before. So let's proceed with this journey and see whether or not I like it or hate it at the end of it. Doing the sleeve. So the sleeve connects to the front and back, much like doll clothes. So instead of you connecting the front and back to itself and then attaching the sleeve, you actually attach the sleeve first. So I'm going to start, and I'm using the serger for this portion, and just gently go over that curve. And I'm not using pins because I need to adjust this as needed. I am gently repositioning this as I go. And also, like, dodging the camera. So, here is my hem, or here is my sleeve. So, it connects like that, and then I connect the back piece to this. Don't remember to throw your bits and pieces away. Normally there's a tray to catch that right here, but I already have to dodge the camera so much. I need that extra couple of inches. So I have foregone that because of the fact that I do have a table here and I can just wash my sewing mat. Okay, so here's seam number 2. You want to, it is okay for it to bunch up on this side as long as this is straight. Alright, repeat that for the other side. Because now, my front and back are connected to my sleeve. And then there's my neck hole. Alright, repeat. You'll see you've got your sleeves attached to the front and back. Yes, I did leave these long. Unless you serge over this part again, you actually have to weave that back into the seam. So do not cut these short, otherwise it starts to unravel your seam. So this is attached. The next portion is to actually do the neckline, or if you're me, I'm probably going to go ahead and sew the side seam, including the sleeve, and do all of the casings on the sewing machine all at once. And I don't know why the back is so much longer than the front, to be perfectly honest. I wonder if that's a design element. Nope, it says it should fit. Huh. Oh well, I'll fix that when I hem it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and... So I pull these out of the way because they're going to get cut at the same time that this is getting sewn, which is why I don't need to weave those back in to everything. So I'm going to make this as straight as I can. My blade is up so that I'm up underneath there. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. My seams are matching. These are out. I am bunching it up on this side so that it doesn't bunch up on the other. And then I am just going ham on it. And then just sew it all the way down. So again, I don't know why I have this much extra, which is fine, because I'll just hem it. And this is a child's shirt anyway, so it's probably quite long enough. So my tension is off, but that's okay. I will figure that out between this seam and the next one. Alright, see you in a few. Now I'm working on the bloomers. For the bloomers, you sew both sides, so basically the front and the back seams first. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Again, I'm working on the serger. Be helpful if I didn't misplace my scissors. Again, leave a chain. Repeat for the other side. So this, everything on my table vibrating off of it from this machine, because I don't have the anti-vibration mat on it. So now we've got both sides serged, and then you fold in half, and then you go ahead and you sew those two seams together in what would be the inside leg seams. And then remember to pull out those 2 chains because you're going to essentially complete that area, so you're not going to need them. Okay, essentially you now have a pair of shorts. So these need to be turned right side out, and then taken to the sewing machine, and casings put on the top and on the legs to make them into bloomers. So that process is done. The next one that needs to be done is the skirt. So the skirt just needs 2 seams currently done, and then I actually have to move it to the sewing machine to get the gather going, because I can't gather everything until these side seams are already done. So I'm going to go ahead and do both side seams. Handy dandy trash can to throw everything into. Okay, so this is my skirt top, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the ruffles because they need to be in circles before I sew the ruffle on. Otherwise, it's going to have a seam right through the ruffle, and it's not going to look as good in the end. One. And 2. Alright, there we go. Now that needs to move to the sewing machine. I actually no, I'm going to change my mind. This ruffle, I'm going to actually do a rolled hem on before I do the gathering for that final seam. So I have my ruffle. I have to sew the top of this ruffle, and the flowers are going this way, so this is the top. I'm going to baste from seam to seam, which is a longer stitch without back stitching, so that I can gather it to make it ruffle on the bottom. I'm just going all the way to seam, and then leaving long threads at each seam so that I can pull on them in order to gather. Since I don't have the best camera setup, I would look up much better sewing YouTubers to see how this process exactly works. So, cut long thread, leave long thread, push to the back. I do fold the center of each panel and pin those directly before I start gathering. And of course I pin each seam matching, and then I start pulling on the threads to gather so that there is an even distribution of fabric, so that it works a lot faster. Alright, I will gather this off camera and I will be back. So I'm going to show how to make an elastic casing on the top of the skirt. It's the same process for the neckline, the sleeves, the bloomers. So I'm just going to do it on the skirt because it's easy to see because it's a vertical or a very straight line. So first things I need to do with this serger chain is to put it into a yarn needle or tapestry needle and weave it down. Because you do not want to cut these unless they're secured some other fashion, because it will start to unravel. So I go about 1 inch down, trim the excess, done. And I'm going to repeat that on the other side. I do have the bottom fold of this pinned so that I have the centers of each panel figured out for the ruffle already. And then we'll have fun with the ruffle in a little bit. Okay, so feed it through, clip the excess. So open this up. You want to fold a little bit down. So because of the fact that I am doing a 1/4 or a 1/4 inch elastic, I want it to have a little wiggle room in here to gather and also slide evenly. But if I was doing 1/8 of an inch, like I would for the neckline or sleeves, I would make a smaller casing. The discrepancy of why I'm using a different size casing is because what is going to be getting a lot of tension and wear. So like the waistband is going to have a lot more wiggle and movement, whereas the neckline, not so much. So pin. So you can pin all the way around, but because this is a straight one, I'm just going to go the quick and dirty way. And just pin the seams. Okay, so because these are side seams, it doesn't matter which one I start with. So I'm going to start just a little bit before this seam, and I'm going to go forward and back. Okay. If you are not comfortable with folding while sewing, I recommend pinning the whole thing and maybe pressing it. Don't imitate me unless you feel comfortable imitating me. I suppose you also wouldn't have a camera in the way so that you're trying to sew through an actual camera instead of with your actual eyes. But with a straight seam, if you go part way and twist it, it will come evenly down if you've cut straight enough. Don't forget to trim your ends. Okay. Now I'm getting back to where I first started, which means I can grab that point that's already been sewn, and the fabric wants to roll so that it matches. So I am funky in the fact that I like to leave an itty bitty hole for if the elastic ever needs to be changed. So I'm going to go almost there and then backstitch. I leave a slightly larger hole for the slightly larger elastic. And then I go ahead and feed it through and sew it. But there's that. You do basically the same exact thing for hemming. So I have to hem the shirt because, well, it's a shirt and I'm not putting a casing in the bottom of that. No matter how cute that would be. But instead of leaving a hole, I won't backstitch to begin with. I'll just keep going in the entire circle, and then once I overlap that circle with the initial stitch, then I backstitch, forward stitch, and done. So I'm going to go ahead and hem the shirt. I will show you at the end, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach the ruffle to this skirt after I put the elastic in. This is how I'm attaching the ruffle to the skirt. I am going to go ahead and just do it with my serger. So even though this top part isn't going to get cut right now, when I finish the circle it will be. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Remember not to run over your pins, because your blade will cut them, but it's also just not good for the machine in general to have to endure that. We're almost at the finishing point. So I have no more pins. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to cut off this excess right here and continue okay. So what I did is I continued overlapping and avoiding that blade and then leaving this tail so that I can weave it back in. And then with that, the skirt ruffle is attached. I'll go ahead and press this seam so that it lays flat, and then I'm actually going to roll hem this bottom in white. So, almost done. This part of the skirt is actually going to be the rolled hem. I prefer rolled hem as a finish for ruffles because I feel like it lays so much nicer when you're done versus a regular hem, which can make it not floof as naturally. So make sure that your seam chain is right here. You're going to go ahead and just cut that off as you go. And slow and steady wins the race is kind of a good way to view this hem. It makes a very tiny rolled hem, which is still very strong despite how it looks. Oh. So part of the reason that we're not going to have sergers in class is sergers are a different beast than a sewing machine. They're a lot more temperamental, they are a lot more finicky, and also there's blade, and I can't have an all-student class if there's blade involved. However, they make things look so nice and finished that I absolutely love them for garments. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off camera because my serger is not happy that I can't exactly see what I'm doing, and so it stops every few inches when I have the camera in the way. So I'm going to finish off screen and then show you the finished product. So this is the finished rolled hem. Isn't that gorgeous? It lays so much nicer for ruffles and makes it flounce so much nicer that I absolutely love doing this hem as a finishing touch, especially on skirts. I'm going to go ahead and put everything together again so you can see everything once more, and I hope you enjoy it. Fur baby! His name is Jarvis. He is Ranger's therapy kitten for Ranger's anxiety. So far, so good. And he loves tinsel pom-poms. So if you like videos or you just like cats like Jarvis, please like, comment, and subscribe.